Also in 1988, its semiconductor business, including the former RCA solid-state unit and Intersil, was bought by Harris Corporation. That same year, the iconic RCA building, known as 30 Rock at Rockefeller Center, was renamed the GE Building. In 1991, GE sold its share in RCA/Columbia to Sony Pictures, which renamed the unit Columbia TriStar Home Video, later further renamed to Columbia TriStar Home Entertainment, now Sony Pictures Home Entertainment. Sonov Labs was put on a 5-year plan whereby GE would fund all the lab's activities for the first year, then reduce its support to near zero after the 5th year. This required Sonov Labs to change its business model to become an industrial contract research facility. In 1988, it was transferred to SRI International, SRI, as the David Sonov Research Center, and subsequently renamed the Sonov Corporation. In January 2011, Sonov Corporation was fully integrated into SRI. In 2011, GE sold its controlling interest in NBC, by this time part of the multimedia NBC Universal venture that included TV and cable, to Comcast, and in 2013, Comcast acquired the remaining interest. After the sale of NBC Universal, the only former RCA unit which GE retained was Government Services. In 2022, Thomson's successor company, Technicolor SA, sold the RCA trademarks to licensing firm Talisman Brands, Inc. D/B/A Established Incorporated, stylized as Established. Legacy, edit. RCA antique radios, and early color television receivers such as the RCA Merrill/CT100, are among the more sought-after collectible radios and televisions. Due to their popularity during the golden age of radio and the historic significance of the RCA name, as well as their styling, manufacturing quality and engineering innovations. Most collectible are the pre-war television sets manufactured by RCA beginning in 1939, including the TRK-5, TRK-9 and TRK-12 models. The RCA Heritage Museum was established at Rowan University in 2012. The historic RCA Victor Building 17, the Nipper Building, in Camden, New Jersey, was converted to luxury apartments in 2003. A type of plug-forward/jack combination used in audio and video cables is still called the RCA connector. To this day, a variety of consumer electronics including 2-in-1 tablets, televisions and telephones, home appliances and more are sold under the RCA brand name. Environmental issues, edit. Numerous former RCA manufacturing sites have been reported to be polluted with industrial waste. A former RCA facility in Taiwan's northern county of Taoyuan, now Taoyuan City, polluted groundwater with toxic chemicals and led to a high incidence of cancer among former employees. The area was declared a toxic site by the Taiwanese Environmental Protection Agency. GE and Thomson spent millions of dollars for cleanup, removing 10,000 cubic yards, 7,600 m, of soil and installing municipal water treatment facilities for neighboring communities. A spokesman for RCA's current owners denied responsibility, saying a study conducted by the Taiwan government showed no correlation between the illnesses and the company's facilities, which shut down in 1991. On the 17th of April, 2015, RCA lost the case and the Taipei District Court ordered RCA's current owners to compensate its former employees with a total of NT $560 million, approximately $18.1 million. To a plant in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which RCA operated from the late 1940s to June 1986, released more than 250,000 pounds of 1,1,1-trichloroethane pollutants per year from its exhaust stacks. Tests by the United States Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, in the late 1980s and early 1990s, found the groundwater contaminated by trichloroethylene, TCE, and 1,2-dichloroethylene, 1,2-DCE. In 1991 and 1992, contaminants were detected in monitoring wells on the east side of the Conestoga River in Lancaster. EPA designated General Electric Company to clean up the area. 3. The shallow and deep groundwater aquifers beneath the Intersol facility in Mountaintop, Pennsylvania, which RCA operated in the 1960s and later sold to Harris Corporation, were found in 1999 to contain elevated levels of volatile organic compounds. 4. A site in Burlington, Massachusetts, which RCA used from 1958 to 1994 to make and test military electronics equipment, generated hazardous waste, VOCs, TCE, toluene, ethylbenzene, and xylons. 5. In Barceloneta, Puerto Rico, an RCA-operated plant generated wastes containing chromium, selenium and iron. 4. Lagoons holding chemical waste drained into the limestone aquifer. Used water from the manufacturing process, process water, containing ferric chloride, was treated on site to remove contaminants and then was discharged into a sinkhole at the site. The treatment of process water created a sludge that was stored on site in drying beds and in surface impoundments. Photo gallery, edit. 1. David Sonov in 1922. 2. Edwin Armstrong at RCA. 3. Nipper atop the old RCA distribution building, Broadway, Albany, New York. 4. Stained glass Nipper window at RCA Victor Building 17 in Camden, NJ. 5. One of 4 Nipper stained glass windows seen from inside the Nipper Tower in the old RCA Victor Building 17. 6. RCA trademarks displayed on the back of Dimenzia TV, the 1980s. 7. 2 vacuum tube cartons, displaying different generations of the RCA logo. 8. RCA Pavilion at the 1964 New York World's Fair. 9. RCA Model RC350, 1938, radio, made of Catalin and Bakelite. 10. RCA radio ad, C 1945. 11. RCA radio X551, early 50s AC/DC tabletop radio. 12. R88 communications receiver. 13. RCA 44BX bidirectional velocity microphone. 14. Victor Talking Machine Company's His Master's Voice logo with Nipper, 1921. 15. RCA Victor Red Seal Records label, late 1930s. 16. Arthur Fiedler demonstrates the new RCA Victor 45 RPM player and record in February 1949. 17. RCA Studio B recording studio in Nashville, Tennessee, known in the 1960s for being part of the Nashville Sound. 18. Vladimir Kazwarikin with an early experimental TV. 19. Grace Bratt and Eddie Albert in a 1936 NBC television program The Honeymooners Grace and Eddie Show using an early RCA camera. 20. Iconic television test pattern created by RCA in 1939. 21. First U.S. commercial TV set, the RCA Victor TRK-12, 1939. 22. RCA 630TS, the first mass-produced television set, sold in 1946-1947. 23. 1954 RCA CT100 TV. 24. 1954 RCA TK41C dolly-mounted color broadcast camera. 25. 1954 RCA TK11 /TK31 television camera. 26. 1970s era RCA Radiotron image or the Con TV camera tube. 27. RCA Studio 2 home video game console, 1977. 28. RCA ColorTrack TV set, using the CTC101 chassis, c. 1980. 29. RCA Universal Remote RCU403, c. 2002-2003. 30. RCA branded AutoShot VHS camcorder, c. 1998. 31. RCA connector used for audio and video. 32. RCA 1802, sometimes known as the Cosmac, an 8-bit CMOS microprocessor from 1976. See also, edit. 2N3055 popular silicon NPN power transistor. Ampliphase. Berliner Gramophone Company, whose Canadian operation became RCA Victor of Canada. Claude E. Robinson, American pioneer in advertising and opinion survey research. CMOS 4000 series. ColorTrack and ColorTrack 2000, notable trademarks for RCA's early color television sets. Dimenzia, a high-end advanced trademark TV for RCA. Electrofax. Elmer T. Cunningham. Ernst F. W. Alexanderson, RCA's first chief engineer, 1920-1924. Film chain RCA TK26, TK27 and TK28. George H. Brown, a research engineer who headed RCA's development of color television. List of phonograph manufacturers. Missile Test Project. Nipper, the dog in RCA's iconic His Master's Voice trademark. Nu Vistas are among the highest performing small signal receiving tubes. RCA Mark II sound synthesizer. RCA /Columbia Pictures Home Video, internationally known as RCA /Columbia Pictures International Video, a joint venture between RCA and Columbia Pictures. RCA transistors and semiconductor diodes 1957 characteristics, circuits, theory, interchangeability directory. Superret, radio, RCA trademark for their line of super heterodyne receivers during the early 1930s. Victor Talking Machine Company corporate predecessor of RCA Records. WSC, radio station. XL100, RCA trademark for extended life and 100% solid-state chassis on color television sets in the 1970s and later. RCA 501, transistor computer manufactured by RCA beginning in 1958. Notes, edit. 1 character.
Good. So I did read this long read, and now I open a lot of radio stuff, but we could read, now I read more or less, but we could read about some American companies too, but of course we don't need to do that. So that's the Telegraph. No, there was something could read this one day. Rockefeller Center. That's New York. Maybe we should read, but we have this the radio gold age. NBC radio network. Could read that, because if you not read it, we are probably never read it. So why not? Of course, they use this radio a lot in the old United States. They use radio for news and music, entertainment. Of course, this media in United States is built on top of all this old one. All this radio corporations, radio technology. But we're supposed to going to read about New York, but let's just read about NBCS radio. But we're going to read about New York, but we do that later. Just reading to learning something new. But sometimes I have to read something random. But we're not going to read about all radios the next 2 weeks, because I just got started. We need to get back on track to read about New York City and New York and United States and something